Thank you very much, Dr. Jones. And now it's your turn, Dr. Piper, Senior Editor for Special Projects at Oxford Analytica. Please.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the Ambassador and Gianluca for inviting me to speak this evening. And I'm particularly pleased to be here because I think this is a very important contribution to understanding some of the drivers of foreign policy in Latin America. I think it's important not just to the academic debate, but also for policymakers and for country analysts looking at Latin America. One of the reasons why I think its impact is broad is simply because it's so well written. I've read a lot of theoretical academic work in my time, which is incredibly difficult to read, and I actually enjoy reading Gianluca's theoretical chapter, which I have to say I didn't expect to. I think that the explanation of both the dichotomy and the mixture of ideology and pragmatism is incredibly important in explaining the behaviour of Latin American leaders and governments over the region's recent history. At Oxford Analytica, every time there is an incident like the periodic disputes, for want of a better term, between Presidents Uribe and Chavez, we would get consistently with questions from clients asking, is this serious? Is this going to escalate? Why are these people threatening one thing and saying one thing one day, usually on a Sunday or not Presidente, and appearing to say something really quite different soon afterwards? And I think that the framework that's presented in the book is a very important starting point in understanding some of the factors driving these kinds of discourses. I think that the definition that the book provides of ideology and pragmatism is exceptionally clear. And the thing that I think is especially important is that a comprehensive and clear analytical framework is set out which systematically addresses the factors governing the foreign policy choices of Latin American governments. So it addresses issues such as the processes in which policies are made, the organisational contexts and cultures in which policies are made, historical context, as Gianluca referred to, and also the role of the agency of political leaders and structures. The other thing that I think is important about this book is the range of country case studies that are provided in the chapters. When Gianluca explained the analytical framework to me, a number of countries came to mind as obvious examples to explain that framework. Those countries are in the book, but there are also a number of other countries that are just as interesting and instructive, such as Peru. I would echo Charles Jones's observation that it's very impressive the extent to which the case study chapters, despite being written by a diverse group of authors, managed to reflect an analytical framework that runs throughout the volume. So I think that the importance of this book for policymakers and analysts of Latin American politics writing for a more commercial audience are clear, and I think that also the framework actually holds up very well when thinking about recent developments in Latin American politics. And I would identify two things that I think have been key foreign policy issues in the region, for which the framework in Joan Peter's book, for which it's useful in analytical terms. And both of those are actually changes of government. First of all, the arrival of the Obama administration in the United States. The Obama administration in itself is less ideological than its predecessor was, certainly at the beginning. But the issue of pragmatism, I think, was relevant in the apparent lack of expertise, possibly understanding of the nuances of relations with Latin America early in its term, particularly the handling of the issue of military bases in Colombia. I also think that the arrival of the Obama administration has been interesting because it's made it more difficult for what you might refer to as the Bolivarian governments and leaders in the region to kind of frame a discourse in response. It was very easy to use an ideologically based discourse to attack the Bush administration, and a degree of credibility could be gained from doing that. To continue using a similar discourse when the Obama administration was in office became much more difficult to sustain. And I also think that the apparent difference in the way the Obama administration appears to be dealing with the new government in Peru, compared to its relations with the pink tide, if you like, governments that were in power when it took office, is instructive and was benefited from an examination through that framework. The other recent development that I think has been particularly important to the international relations in the region has been the change of government in Colombia. I see the new government in Colombia as representing a clear change of direction from what had become a relatively ideological position towards a far more pragmatic, multilateral approach. And what we've seen, I would argue, is that improved relations with Venezuela, which appear to be meaningful and lasting, although there's always the risk of an incident taking place that sets things back, has changed the nature of ideological tensions elsewhere in the region. So I think that there are two examples there of recent developments for which the analytical framework presented in this book is instructive. Now, speaking from the point of view of a country analyst seeking to sell that analysis to governments and businesses, I think that the key challenge is to take an analytical framework like this that has been developed to examine the events of the relatively recent past and to apply that to a forward-looking analysis and to use it in a predictive way to think about the medium and long-term outlook for the region. And in some ways, I think that the test for the framework in this book will be the extent to which this is possible. My feeling is that it will be very useful, at least as a sort of funnel through which forward-looking analysis of the outlook for foreign policy in Latin America could be carried out. And I'd just like to identify four issues